Hey friends, Christine here. And yes, I just recently uploaded a video on how to make a book box, but I wanted to do another one because the original, which I love, does suggest that you use hardboard for the interior box walls. And it is one of my favorite materials, but I understand it's problematic for some people. It's either hard to find or you need a table saw or a miter saw or some other specialty cutting tool to cut it. So I wanted to make another one where that's not the case. So I designed this book box, which is similar but different. It has a faux leather piece of grocery store paper bag for its cover, and it also has the magnetic closure. Inside it has a box just like you'd expect, but this box, which is very similar to its cousin, is made with cereal boards, nothing more than good old-fashioned cereal board. And I've developed it in such a way that you can use it to make a good sturdy board. It doesn't bend. I mean, you really have to be very vigorous with it, yet it can be cut with a utility knife. So this gives people who don't have access to some of those other things, the saw, the hardboard, the chance to make it, because a lot of people have said that they want to make it. So here's mine. I'll show you just a little walkthrough of the inside. I have this. You could keep stamps or envelopes or photos, anything you like. You know, you're going to do your own book, so it can be any way you like. You could also totally leave it out and just have a plain cover. I had a space for a a writing tool. And here's a lift ribbon to get whatever you have in there out more easily. This is a very good fit for these notebooks. And then we take this out and we have a journal board. So that was what I designed. And the most exciting part for me is the fact that more people can now make this project because of being able to make these harder sides. I know in the original videos I talk about using foam core as a possibility for those who can't work with the harder material. And you can, absolutely. I'm just not a fan of foam core. I feel like it dents and I don't trust it to hold up as long as maybe I'd like any book I make to. And it also, using something like this, it gives it more of a heft. The feel of the book is more book-like. So that's what we're doing. It's like 5 or 6 videos showing each step of the process. Skip around, look at the parts you need. It's essentially, we're building a book box and we're doing it with all recycled materials. Well, obviously not the embellishments, but you know what I mean. So let's get to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim. I've got 4 cereal boxes that I need to trim, and then some of these too, but I'll hold off on those to show you. But we're going to use 4 of each for the covers, just like in the original video, and then I'm going to show you how to make the walls, and they're going to be sturdy and thick and wonderful. So hold on, I'm simply going to go trim these into manageable pieces. But before I do that, I thought I might explain why there are arrows on all of these boards. That's because we always want to know which way the grain's going. So in this cardboard, where the print goes up and down, the grain is actually going this way, and you could tell because that's how it more easily bends than this way. So what I normally do before I cut anything is just indicate that's the way the grain goes, so that once they're cut, if I have any confusion, especially when you get to smaller pieces where the bending is trickier, this will be how I'll know. So just a little tip. These pieces get saved. They'll become spines or perhaps walls on other books. I always take this little funky flap off if it's not necessary. I'm not cutting to any measured size. I'm just doing a rough cut to get all of the pieces a little bit more usable. And since none of these flappy parts are of interest to me, so there you go. This is how I'm going to cut it. You could easily cut it on a paper cutter. This will definitely get cut on a paper cutter, but I'm just going to stand here and listen to the cat whine and cut these up. So the next steps for doing the cover for making the cardboard and the box sides are to glue these together. And they are all, as you can see, simply cereal boxes. And these are going to be the spine, some of these. And the rest I'll just save for other projects. So remember that I mentioned earlier that I always mark which way the grain is going, just so I know for certain that I'm always gluing with the grain. Now here I had written it the wrong way, but I crossed it off and it's going this way, which is basically all of these. I only have ever had one box go a different way, but it did go a different way and it made a difference. So all we have to do is glue. And to do that, we are simply going to, I just dropped my, there it is. We are going to glue them up. Now we don't have to be really specific about our glue, we just need good coverage here. And we're going to get it stuck together. So for the covers, I typically, for small boxes like my treasure books where you hide passwords and stuff, I do 3 layers. But for larger books that are a little bit more substantial, I do a minimum of 4. And that mimics bookboard. So let's see. A little 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. And it doesn't matter that this one has a crease in it, because once we glue these all on, you'll never know it. So I'll go ahead and speed this up and glue all these covers together, all these cereal boxes together. So just a little heads up here, I've done 2 covers, or what will be 2 covers, and you need a fairly sizable cereal box to do this. And now I'm going to do what will be the box sides, and then I will do the spines, which are going to be all the leftover parts because they fit within my measurements. And those 2 will be 4 layers. The box parts are going to wind up 8 layers. So each little box side, this one actually is 7 layers in here, but I'm going to go ahead and do 8 just because I can. I have that many. I'm going to glue them together and then split them and then double them up again. So I will show you that when I'm back. Okay, so I have glued up 4 layers of cereal box for the covers and the spine, and I'm going to cut those now, and then I'm going to glue up the rest, which will be used for the box sides. I'm going to first just show you how easy it actually is to trim this with a knife. These are 4 layers of cereal boxes. Forgive the brown paint. I did not wash my hands after making the faux leather. So now we just slice it. It's very simple. So you can see now what we have here is about the thickness of bookboard. So if you'll permit me, I'm going to use the paper cutter to trim these to actual size because I'm having some wrist issues, and this is not the most pleasant activity for those. So I'm going to trim these up to size, which are going to be 6.5 by 9 3/4 for my covers, and 1 3/4 by 9 3/4 for the spine. So I'll be back with that. Okay, so we need to move on to the next step, which is to bind all of these cardboards together. Still more cereal boxes, and they're going to make the box for the book box. So it's the same thing. We are simply gluing one on top of the other. Now, things to consider are you want them the same height. So I'm thinking my book box is I'm going to use 2 of these for the longer size and then cut 1 in half and use it for the smaller. Now, something to consider then is that the smallest piece of cardboard you have will dictate the maximum height of your rail. So you do want to know what that is. So I would put that cardboard on one's top, or either the first or the last piece, so that you can know when you trim that you have to trim to this size. So that's what we're going to do. That one's a little narrower, so sort of make it a pyramid of cardboard. Okay, then the other thing to consider is that they're all the same height. So essentially I am using the same boxes, strips from the same boxes spread into each of these 3 piles. It wouldn't really matter, but like this one, for example, this is a double thickness of cardboard. It came in a double box. In fact, you can see here that just to make a sturdier box for their product, they added another layer of thin cardboard in here. So knowing that, I know that anytime this shows up, it's 50% thicker than these others. So I've just spread them out so they're all even. And now I'm just going to glue them together. So let's start with, we could move this one over here. We'll start with this one. And this is not new gluing technique. It's just the same old, same old. There's one, and between each one, I do give it a good rub. And on we go. So I'm going to finish doing this for all these little stacks. I'm going to glue them all together, one on top of the other. Again, remembering to keep this, the skinniest one, on one side, so you know what the minimum or the maximum you can trim to is. So, be back. So my strips of cardboard are all together, and they're going to dry and cure. And you just want to double check, like this is the spine from my book, it's already been trimmed, and you want to make sure that the smallest piece that you can trim to on this stack, our new hardboard, is at least the size of your spine, because basically you're going to trim your book size, book depth or height to just below the width of your spine. And you do this because you're also going to wrap it with paper, and you don't want alligator mouth on your book anyway. So I know that I'm just going to make it by using this piece as a box side. And you also need to know what is the longest piece that's fully bonded. And in my case, it's the second one in, which I left showing. So I know that I can trim to about, well, once I lop off each edge, about 11 inches will be my longest measurement, which is fine, because I'm going to take that and cut it in half, and it's going to be 2 5.5 inches rails. And then this one will be the 9 3/4 that I need, or about 9 3/4 that I need for the longer sides. So you'll see when I start cutting. But now they can just sit and be happy that they are now not simply lowly cereal boxes, but book board.